Okay, chapter 16, verses 1 through 3, and then we're going to jump to verse 9. Chapter 16, verses 1 through 3 says, "To humans belong the plans of the heart, but from the Lord comes the proper answer of the tongue. All a person's ways seem pure to them, but motives are weighed by the Lord. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans." And then verse 9 says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." So, what I believe this is saying is that on a small scale, on a micro scale, okay, we make our plans and we make our choices. But on the overall scale, God only uses those things to ultimately accomplish his purposes. Okay, so for instance, all of our choices and our decisions, I can make a big decision. What? Buying this house. Buying this house or buying that house. That's a huge decision, right? I mean, the house market today, you're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in most places, right? That's a big decision. In my life, in my mind, this is huge. Okay? In the scope of God, what is it? Small. But it's not that he isn't aware of it. It's not that he doesn't care about it. And it isn't that he doesn't use that and can't use that to ultimately accomplish his purpose. Okay? Have you ever known anybody who bought a house and they made a mistake in buying that house? Okay. Could it be that God allowed that to happen in order to bring something good out of it? Yeah. This is all part of God's providence and how God redeems things. And so, obviously, we make our plans, we make our choices, and we're held responsible for all of our choices. But in God's providence, he uses all things to ultimately bring about his purposes. You probably heard the old story about the father and daughter who were walking through a craft show. And they walked past this tapestry. And the dad was looking down at this tapestry and said, "Oh, it's so beautiful. Look at the colors. Look at the craftsmanship and the detail." And the little girl was underneath it looking at the bottom side. And she was thinking, "What are you talking about?" Because she saw all these loose threads and all these knots and, all of this. Well, a lot of times our life looks like all these loose threads and knots. Okay? But God uses those loose threads and knots to ultimately make something beautiful. Okay? So I think what's being talked about here in chapter 16 is we make our plans. And sometimes our plans go well, sometimes our plans don't go well. But God can use all of that to ultimately accomplish his purpose in our lives and in his world. So we can go on to chapter 20, verse 24. It says, "A person's steps are directed by the Lord. How then can anyone understand their own way?" What do you think that verse is saying? Yeah? Okay. Yeah. What's going to happen to you tomorrow? Anybody know? No. In what way is the Lord going to bless you next week? Don't know. What's the next lesson he's going to teach you? Don't know, right? We don't know. That's why life is a mystery. But for the believer, we know that the Lord is leading us. Chapter 21, verse 30. "There is no wisdom, no insight, no plan that can succeed against the Lord." How would you paraphrase that? How would you put that in your own words? He knows all? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. I had in my notes here, to fight and resist God is dumb.